here today to talk about the 3D architecture visualization. So based on the last episode that we had before, we talked about the basic modeling technique, and we went over a model with the primitive 3D object, which is basically just takes a couple of 3D ready to go 3D object with its own parameters and create them. Right now we will go more in depth, and then we will talk about the part two, which is the polygon modeling tools. Okay, so this is what we talked about it last time. So let's just delete all of these. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and select a box, for example here, a little box like that. Okay, so last time when we've been talking about creating 3D object, which is a primitive, very primitive one like this, if we go to modify, you notice that we still can control the length and width and height of the object, right? And then there is the segment. Some of the people, they ask me why we need to add segment. So the reason is that you have to get those artistic imagination. It's like when you capture something, you need to know where you are heading to. Like, I'm creating this box, but what is the final result gonna be? So based on that final result, you have to create those length segment, width segment, and height segment. For instance, if I have this box like this, okay, like that maybe, this means that I can control just those faces with the polygon tool. So I have to apply a tool on top of it that will allow me to control those vertices and those segments and those faces as well. So this tool called Edit Poly. So if I go to modify, from the drop menu, I select Edit Poly. You notice this is the box over here, and this is the Edit Poly on top of it. So the Edit Poly, if I select it, and if I can drag and drop this a little bit, because that will give me more room here, so I can go back and forth between these options. The Edit Poly actually allow us, if I select the vertex, I can control and move those vertices in any way I want, right? If I select edges, again, that will allow me to control those edges, move them around, even rotate them if I need to. Okay, and then you have the border, which is basically not in this scene, but I have to go to polygon first, and that will allow me to select the polygon. So if I delete one of those, then I go back to border allow me to select the whole edges around the opening. Okay, and then the element, which is the whole thing together. So 5 things that in sub object of the box that will allow me to use the poly modeling tool to do whatever I want from this box. So from this box I can create many things. For example, if I took this border here, if I drag it up, so now I'm modeling another thing. It's not just the basic box, it's something different. If I go with the extrude here, head setting, that will allow me to extrude in this way, like that, right? And then I can hit OK, and then I can hit extrude again and go in a different way like that. So see, from just the box with the Edit Poly tools, that will allow me to model like a chimney or something, but that will allow me to create a different 3D object from just the box. But at the same time, I have to be very careful with the segment that I'm adding that will allow me to do many things that I need. So this is the extrusion, and then you have this, which is basically like, the tabber, the extrusion, see, like this, and I hit OK, and that will create a different 3D object. And then you have the chamfer. So if I select chamfer, I go like this. So I'm sorry, this is not gonna work fine because this is an open edge, so I have to select. Let me just select another edges. So for example, if I select those edges, if I hold shift, that will allow me to keep select the edges, or what I can do, I just have to go here and do like this. Okay, that will allow me to select all objects in this position. Okay, now if I go ahead and select chamfer, that will allow me to chamfer those edges to create something like that. And then I can add a segment to it to make it smooth if I want, like that. Okay, I can make them, you know, a different type of chamfering, or I can even make it, maybe if I want it open, let me go here like this. If I want to make opening, I can do it with this option as well. So the chamfer is really very good tools, and that will allow us to just chamfer the edges. Okay, and hit OK, and then you have weld. If you want to weld like a couple of vertices, or but I'm not gonna go through this right now because everything should be work on spot. So let's go one by one. Okay, so what about the connect? This is a good tool. So I'm selecting those edges, right? Those lines. If I hit connect, that will connect those lines I just selected. Okay, for example, if I select this guy, let me go like this one and this one. Oh, and this one and this one here. And I hit connect. That will connect these two lines, and then I will be able to add more segment in between those lines as well. Some of you said, why I'm adding lines? Maybe I want to create a leather here, right? So like leather go all the way from here to here, so I need to add the steps. So I said, okay, where is the leather? Okay, I said I can even go ahead and select those edges now, like this. By holding control, that will allow me to add the selection. So now I have the leather shape, right? But I don't have the physical 3D object yet. So when I select those edges, I can go to this option, create shape, and choose linear, and then leather, for example, and hit OK. So now if I just turn off this and I select this, there is a shape that I just created, which is copy of those line on the 3D object. See? So that very helpful and very, you know, quick way to select shape, just a copy of the shape of the edges that the 3D object had before. And then from the rendering option in the shape, we'll go through this after a while. I just want to show you very quick what you can create. You'll notice that you just create a letter from the shapes that included in the 3D object. See? So there is many ways to create things. You just have to be prepared, and you have to add, you know, the vertex or the segment that you need to create such things, you know. So the reason I just create those connection edges was I just want to create this letter, and I wanted really an exact same, you know, width of the chimney or whatever 3D object I'm creating. So this is basically like modeling tools that help me to create those things. So this modeling tools is called Edit Poly. It's really very nice and very easy to handle, but it needs more practice. So if I select the vertex and I select those vertices here, I can go ahead with the scale, and I can just go ahead and you know, scale down and scale up those vertices to make them look different, right? Like this, right? So what else? If I want to go ahead and just, you know, weld those vertices, so I can just grab them together like this, okay, and then hit weld, and then I have to just maximize the distance, and here we go. So it's like you put the number of the area, and anything in that area, it will be collapsed in one vertex. So now I have just one vertex, and here I can just drag it up and down to create a different element. So this edit poly tool is very powerful, as you can see, and that will allow us from the box, just simple box like this, I can create everything. If you notice, this is the basic one. If I turn off the edit poly, you will see what is the basic object that I just created, which was just a box, right? But if you cannot go back and change those parameters, because that will ruin anything that you did with the edit poly. So when you use edit poly, that's it. You know, you cannot go back and edit the segment or whatever in that box. So I turn off the edit poly. If I add segments here and I go edit poly, you see how that will ruin everything. So you have to be careful. No segment will be added when we finish with that. Okay, so we'll go back to edit poly tools, which is the very powerful tools, and we will go ahead in here. Imagine that I want to create another object coming from the top of the 3D object that we just created. We can just go ahead and select this face and then hit extrude, and then we just extrude it like this, okay? And then we can hit OK, and then we drag this face in here like this. We'll go to front view, just to drag and drop to be aligned with the object like this, okay? Like that. And then you can rotate this face to align it with the other, okay? But let's keep it this way right now, because I want to show you how you can use even the bevel option. If I go with the bevel option right now, I can extrude and I can bevel it like this, okay? Like that. And I can hit OK, and again I can use the bevel, and I can go even inside, and I can make it like this, okay? So just using edit poly on top of the box, and then use a different, you know, selection of edges, faces, and extrusion, you know, like if I go back even to faces here, I still can select the face, use insert, which looks like an offset in AutoCAD that will allow me to create an opening if I need to. So I create an offset, and then I can use extrude to go inside, and that will create, like, you know, some kind of window inside, okay? And then I can even go with maybe what else? I want to show you different things. So let's go with the edges, and if I select this edge, with this edge again, and then we can go with connect. See, it will take the last number of connection that you made before, and you can even make the distance in between those edges much bigger than before, or you can even slide them in any way you want, or even you can make one or two of them. So that will allow us to divide this faces. And I will go back to this face, and maybe I want to delete it, and then I can select the border how it's the same way that we did in the beginning, and then we can extrude it like this, and then we can, you know, chamfer it in any way we want, and then you can cap this hole by pressing cap again. So from very basic shape of from very basic 3D object, which is the box, we create something like this with just a few clicks. We don't waste a lot of time, but the main thing here is that you have to get an imagination at what gonna come from this box, not just draw the box and pull down and around stuff. Okay, so this is the first basic modeling tools in Max, and we'll continue get more depth in this by go through examples. But right now, at least we know what is Edit Poly capable of. Okay, thank you so much for watching us, and hopefully we'll meet for the next episode. We'll go through modeling from 2D object.